came today to present GitOpsifying cloud infrastructure with a Crossplane. Okay, so I'm from Accenture. I'm a cloud engineer. I'm specialized in GitOps, AWS, DevOps. I love Kubernetes. I'm showing my love by getting certificates. As you see, I'm in industry like 13 years, working in 5 companies and successfully finished 22 projects. Our agenda today is like we will speak a bit about infrastructure history. Yeah, this is a third presentation about infrastructure. It's something interesting. What is GitOps? Problem. What I face. Yeah, solution. What I found. What is Crossplane? And also some details about Crossplane components. And I hope I will have time for a demo, and then maybe if there is questions. Yeah, infrastructure automation history. So we started actually manually. If you're old enough, you will use manual approach, and then after we're going more to scripting like PowerShell or Bash. Cloud for me, like more about configuration management, like maybe Chef, Puppet, Ansible, and then the infrastructure as a code came with a cloud. So you have declarative of component one. So if you declarative, maybe using CloudFormation or Terraform. If you looking more for component, you're using CDK for Terraform or maybe Chrome. And then Crossplane comes with centralized control panel. So this is like come after CDK and after CDK of Terraform. So yeah, this is a bit how GitOps work. In my opinion, it's depend on 4 pillars, like declarative configuration, maybe YAML if you're using Kubernetes, version control, using pull operation, automation for pull operation, maybe ArgoCD, and of course reconciliation. So Kubernetes is actually can do that. So how its GitOps flow work? Like you have your code in GitHub or whatever Git you have. You build your image, and then you push your image to the registry. And this is like CI. In CD, like if you're using GitOps approach, there's a bit of changes. So you push your manifest file or your shards in Kubernetes, and the operator will pull your updates instead of pushing the changes, and then the operator will sync with your cluster to deploy your instance. And this is actually your application. And this actually follow like the reconciliation loop. So you have desired state, what you want to deploy to the cluster, and you have the current state, what is existing. So with this loop, you make sure that you have what is your desire in Git, it's already in your system. And this loop happens like every seconds maybe. It's depend on your configuration. So this is GitOps in my opinion. If you have these 4 pillars, mostly you will have good GitOps approach. So what is the problem? So problem is to achieve true GitOps, you need to have this GitOps for your infrastructure and also for your application. But if you want to have both, you will have simply multiple tools, multiple language, and this will be your challenge. Like so much tools, so much language, it's cause more complexity. So the solution is not using so much tools, so using Kubernetes, ArgoCD, and Crossplane. With these 3 tools combined, you will easily to automate and manage your application in the same way as your infrastructure follows the GitOps approach. Kubernetes actually it's like just to deploy, scale your container, self-healing, and also using now to manage the infrastructure as a code. I think everyone using Kubernetes today, right? Everyone? Everyone? Okay. A lot of Kubernetes lover. Then ArgoCD is like GitOps operator, which is, you can use also Flux. It's depend on your, it's just tooling, right? So it's just pulling, continuously deploying your application in your cluster, and in our case also we're using for infrastructure too. So it's like this is mind which is making like to check the desired state is the current state, and sequentially check the git. If there are changes, it's applying for your application. And Crossplane. So Crossplane is like Terraform doing the infrastructure as a code somehow, in different way, with Kubernetes flavor, right? But it's follow also the GitOps principle. So by combining all of these tools, you will have only YAML as a language. You have only, in this case, 3 tools. Most of people already have Kubernetes using maybe GitOps. But with Crossplane, you will have also to manage the same way your deployments as in Kubernetes and managed file. It will be also for your infrastructure. So this is the solution diagram. So it's simple. You have your code in your Git or version control. What you have, ArgoCD will pull the changes every 60 minutes. I think this is, sorry, 60 seconds. It's the default. You can change this configuration. They pull the code from your Git, try to deploy. It checks this resources. If it's Kubernetes resource, will deploy inside Kubernetes. If it's Crossplane, deploy it inside Kubernetes, and then the Crossplane will provision the infrastructure. Okay, again, what is Crossplane? It's using for multi-cloud infrastructure provisioning, but with Kubernetes way. Yeah, why I'm using Crossplane? It's declarative, so follow GitOps. It's also the trust source of infrastructure and configuration or setup. So it's only you have one source of truth, built in high level of extendability, as Kubernetes is easy to extend. So Crossplane also easy to extend. It's unified your application, infrastructure, and configuration deployment as you follow the GitOps principle. Of course, they have key feature here. It's easy to automate the tasks related to deployments or related to infrastructure provisioning, with the reconciliation controller, which is checking all the time the status and make your infrastructure all the time up and running and self-healing. And they also, as I mentioned, you can extend, but also you can make separation between your team, the application team, and also the platform who is building all the Crossplane infrastructure. So simple like that. So you have your YAML file. It's so close to any Kubernetes resources. Crossplane will detect the changes of your file and provision to your cloud. Maybe you have AWS, maybe you have Google, maybe you have Azure, maybe you have others. So there is, later we will check how the provider works. So the Crossplane have different provider, like Terraform have different provider, the same idea. But also we have the component of the Crossplane. So we have a provider configuration, which is help the provider to understand what is the secrets, how to communicate with the cloud provider, like AWS or Google or Azure, whatever. And in Kubernetes, we have 2 scopes, like cluster scope, namespace scope, or for Crossplane, we have also these two scopes. We have managed resources, which is simply RDS or S3 or whatever. Like this is resources mapped in Kubernetes and mapped in your cloud. Composition, it's simple template for multiple resources. So this is the template what you use if you want to provision this template. Your application like contains 6 or 8, whatever number from managed resources. This template will contain all of them. But how actually we create the template? So we have composition resources. It's like multiple resources we use, and also we have composite resource definition. It's defined how you use this composite. So with that, you will be able to deploy different resources with one composition. And the claimers, it's the same like composition, but in different scope, like namespace. So maybe you will have different team, and every team has his own namespace, and he can claim this composition to deploy certain application. So providers it's like custom resource definition to integrate with external services, like as I mentioned before. So for every cloud provider you will have, for every cloud you will have provider. And the provider configuration is simply applying the settings for the provider. So this is how it's looking good. So clean and simple. You have the provider as a kind. Maybe if you have Kubernetes knowledge, you will also like pod or whatever, the same. Specific, the same way how you work with the Kubernetes. The package, so we have here provider for AWS and also configuration. So the configurations, so okay, this is, what is the secret? It's in Crossplane system namespace, what is the name of the secret? And you can also deploy all your AWS secrets in your Kubernetes as a secret. Yeah, manage resource, as I mentioned before, this is just mapping from Kubernetes to AWS or to Google. In this diagram, you can see there is, start with, you define your resources, then in this case you have RDS instance, the RDS instance, go to provider communicate with cloud through API, asking to provide the RDS instance, maybe Postgres, and then you back your secrets, saving in Kubernetes to make your application able to use it, and then provider check the health of the RDS instance every 1 minute, I think. Every 1 minute, if something going wrong, the Crossplane will redeploy or change the configuration or do what it changes in the cloud. So anyone doing some manual stuff in the cloud, it will be re-provisioned again according to what is inside the managed resource descriptions. So here actually how it's look. So yeah, in this case I'm trying to deploy your provision RDS instance. Name is RDS PostgreSQL. What is the region of it? The size, storage, engine, and in the end I'm saying, okay, I want to save this database secrets in this Crossplane with this name, and then later maybe your application able to use the secrets for communicate with this RDS instance. Composition, as I mentioned, is template to create multiple resources at once. It is the composition. I don't know if you see it good, but yeah, it's a bit small. But yeah, it's a composition. As you see, this is just definition for multiple resources. In this case, you have X PostgreSQL instance, and we're using in this case provider is Google, not AWS in this time. We have name for every resources, and also here we combined actually the SQL, like instant cloud SQL instance with a network. And in the end, we have batches, which is is simply used for parameters. So you have some parameters you want to say, I want to every composition. When you claim the composition, you should have the storage size of this database. So this is how they change storage of the database. And this composition resource, you have your claimer, which is claims the composition resource, and the composition resource has a composed managed resources. So in this case, we have SQL with some firewalls, and it's called X Postgres instance and resources, and the claimer, which is in your namespace, is PostgreSQL. So everyone in your team can use the same composition, but with different name in different namespaces. And with this case, actually, You can make it complex as much as you can, or simple as much as you can. You build your own infra according to your needs. But you build it at once, and multiple teams can consume the same infra. Yep, this is how simple use composite. So in this case, I will just provide the name, what the kind I want, and the storage, and where I want to save my secrets. So with this simple YAML file, you will have database and cloud. The definition, which is simply defined how you will use the composition, and it's use Open API schema v3 as I understand. It's the same like how you make custom resource definition in Kubernetes. It is the composite resource definition, so they're using the same way and same pattern. This is how it's look. The important stuff that we're using Open API v3 schema is the same way how you will define custom resources in Kubernetes. In this case, we just say, okay, we have parameter, it's called storage, and the type of this parameter is integer, and it is required, and the parameters always required. This is like one parameter. You can add a lot of parameter as its object. The claimers is the same like composite resource, but simply in different scope, which is namespace. It gives you flexibility to have different team and different namespaces. And it's the same like composite, but here we can define the namespace. In this case, it's default. You can use whatever. You can have team A and team B, and every team have his own namespace. Maybe also you can have different accounts in the cloud, and with this a bit separated the teams, but they all use the same composition which is created with the platform team. Yeah, this is how actually the diagrams look like. You have the application. Your application team claim the resources. You have defined the composition resource, the definition. Your platform team defines the composition resource, definition, and composition. And in the end, you will have the managed resources. So you separate your application team from the platform team. You can name it developers team or whatever you have named, and the other team is like infrastructure or DevOps or cloud engineer. It's depend on every company have their own naming and terminologies. Well, as always, I'm fast to go to the demo, as the demo will take time. So the demo is simple. I already have some code in GitHub. I will make ArgoCD pulling this code, try to create DynamoDB table and S3 bucket using the Crossplane. I already deployed the provider configuration, provider secrets, and provider itself. And we will play a bit and see if I delete some stuff in AWS, Crossplane able to re-provision, or I change some configuration, how it's go. So it's demo time. Let me open the, and I hope it will work. Let's see. Okay. It's my local, so no one copy the password. Yes, yeah. So I'm not able to access by network. Okay, so it's empty application. We have only I installed only ArgoCD. I will go to my Git repository on GitHub, and I already created the application. So I would like to create V1, manage resource. And simply this is, oh my god, the view is so, let me try to put it here, maybe it will be better look like. Okay. Anyone see anything? Now, better? Okay, so I simply have simple ArgoCD application using YAML. the same. ArgoCD defines the resources as the same, like Kubernetes, the name of the application, where I would like to deploy the application, and also the path of my resources, what I want to deploy, and the repo URL. And then with this way, you are able to deploy the application. I will save the stuff and try to create now. Okay, it's created, but while it's syncing, I will show you how the how actually the application look like. So it's actually on the Crossplane. Yep, so it's simple. I would like to deploy S3, DynamoDB, and S3 version, and this was for the demo, but yeah, let's deploy it, there is no problem. This is S3 bucket. Yeah, simple. Also the DynamoDB also simple look like. So you say table, which is the name of it, and where is the region, some parameters or configuration for your table. So yeah, while ArgoCD is trying to syncing. So yeah, as you see, I just give it the application, it's pulling the Git resources and try to deploy in the cloud. It will take a bit time. I hope it will work. Yep, start to already deploy the resources. So as you see here, this is the table, the bucket, another bucket, and the bucket version, and it's going to provide a configuration use the provider to deploy those stuff, and I can enable easy to simply use kubectl as it's like on top of on Kubernetes. So if I just go and say I want to see this bucket, yep. So let's say is it okay? This good bucket. So yeah, as you see, we have, or you not see it. This is due to size. Yeah, as you see, we have two buckets here where I define them, and it's ready and sync it to the cloud. So if you go into the AWS itself, we should see the both S3 buckets. Yeah, here is the demo, and here is the other bucket. You can actually do something like that, and I will try to delete this bucket. So I expect the Crossplane will detect there is problem and redeploy it. So let's see if that will happen. It's deleted, and this is time to wish me luck. Yes. So it's detected there is something happened wrong, it's false, and it should the Crossplane automatically provision what I deleted. So it's kind of self-healing, the same like if you have bod and someone delete your bod, the controller will recreate the bod. So the same, but also with your infrastructure. So we will wait a bit to check if it's true, and we'll go see if it's back to life. So it's true and true. So I expect the bucket is deployed already. Yeah, we have the bucket. Well, also you can do the same with configuration if someone is changing configuration. So I can change the configuration and resave it. So now it's the versioning is suspended, is not enabled. We can wait a bit and check again. But not this resource. But yeah, while it's happening, maybe you have questions, or maybe you want to try something. There's no questions. No one want to try something.
I have a question. So I don't understand this. This looks really cool. How about the data of the bucket, for example?
So
yeah.
the data of the bucket, it's not in the demo, right?
Yeah.
But simply it's have different workflow.
Yeah. What
right?
do you do? I mean, like, with the data, because it's not solely like I don't want to like I don't care like if I need to get back bucket or whatever resource or database or whatever.
Yeah.
But I want like how to say to recover it from the state that is usable. Right?
Okay, so if your bucket already have some data, right?
Yeah.
So this is mean you should have backup and restore, right? Yeah. So this is different flow, not infrastructure flow, right?
Okay.
It's happening like Terraform, right? If you have Terraform, it's not back the data, right? It's backing the infra.
Terraform can back the data.
It can, yes,
yeah.
But how?
So, it's well in Terraform that you define the keys in the bucket with.
Yeah.
And then basically, and then you can also manage the keys.
That's mean you define your data in your infrastructure.
I may, yes.
Okay.
This is what I care about. So
if you defined also the data with Crossplane, it will able to deploy.
Does it have this capabilities or kind of hooks?
You can, of course. But for the demo purpose, I don't have any data.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything you can define, it will define in your Crossplane. If you define it in Crossplane, it will be, of course, able to back. But this is not the case. Yeah, as you see, that it's enabled. Of course, if I change anything in Git, it will be follow the GitOps approach, and it will be maybe I will deploy more pod or something. If you don't mind, and it should be fine. But yeah, if using Git, ArgoCD, it's easy to do. So you just copy. I will copy some S3 bucket and redeploy it, and it should come to the cloud from just Git. But do we have time? I'm not sure. I have question.
A question.
Okay.
What happens if you make minor change in AWS, like for example adding a label to the bucket?
Yeah, actually you can try. Well, if you not define the labels, right? It should. If you not define the label in Crossplane, it should not do anything. But if you define the label by Crossplane, it should be changed.
But will it change it by removing the label or by recreating the entire resource?
So if the idea is detects the depth and try to make it as the state, right? So if you delete the label, it will recreate it, the label, but if you change the label data, it also will recreate it. So it should change the name again. So say you have app and say 1 to 3. So you change 1 to 3 to something else, like 1 to 4. The Crossplane will detect there is change and make it to 1 to 3 again. Okay, so we have V1 here. I will just copy paste it's the same and name it different a bit. So let's say demo 2, and I will make just the bucket with demo 2, and they will just in different region and save. So demo 2, comment, sync. I'm using master just for demo purpose. And I should found ArgoCD should detect the different. Just to sake of time, I will refresh. So it should find there is a new bucket. You change it, your infrastructure, whatever you change, it should come here, and it will try to sync. And as its success should come here after a while in AWS. So yeah, that's actually all. Well, I would like to, if there is no question, I would like to thank you. You can follow me in LinkedIn if you have questions, or if you want to communicate with me, I will be more than happy. Yeah, that's all.